All right, welcome to the, what is it? Oh, July safety meeting for the March Aero Club. And my name is Roger Mann, I'm the safety officer. Bob Pierce is not here tonight. So, you know, when the cat's away, the mice can play. So we'll going to try to keep this meeting as short as possible. You don't have to stand there and watch me. We do have a guest speaker that's going to talk tonight. I am going to say a few things though, and I'm going to bring up a couple of people in here too that want to talk about some things. And Murph, do you have anything to talk about tonight?
Yeah, just a few items.
Okay. All right, so let's just get started here. Okay, July 4th, 2014, and for you new people, we do a kind of a little agenda as we start. One of the first things we do is new people. We introduce new people. So anybody that's new in here who has not been to any of these meetings and has not introduced themselves, please introduce yourself. I know we got some.
Yeah, I'd probably be one of you after a while.
Yeah.
Greg Lair, I'm out of South Dakota, but I'm here once a month, so I thought I'd join the Aero Club. Get a little extra flying in the T-34. Thanks to John there checking me out in it. And so, there you have it. We'll see how Oshkosh here in a couple weeks, hopefully, right?
So,
Yeah. Welcome to the club. Okay, I don't think we had you, yeah.
Hi, I'm Andrew Mall. I'm not a pilot yet, working on it. So, but just joined. Thanks.
All right. Not to embarrass anybody, but we now got doctors, lawyers, and and you know, we got the round of everybody, medical people, and boy, I'll tell you, you know, we could have our own unit right here. Actually, that's what the Aero Club is anyhow. Anybody else that has not been? Oh, there's a new guy just walked in. No, I'm just kidding.
Michael Royal, Security Forces. I'm trying to turn over and be a pilot. Been trying to do it for a long time, but now I feel like with the Aero Club, I'll get that accomplished. Good show.
Welcome. Okay, we got you, didn't you? Yeah, we already had you, yeah. I think so. How about you, John? I noticed John is sitting, both Johns are sitting in the Aero Club manager seat. So,
Well, I thought I had to take his place.
yeah, I know. Well, you're the chief pilot. So, you know. Okay, I think that's it. I don't see anybody else. I see some old timers, but, you know. Let's see. Yeah, Phil, did we get you yet? I think we did. Yeah, standing up, introducing yourself. Yeah. Well, we could ask again, you know, but. Okay, has anybody soloed for the first time since? Has anybody got a new rating? Has anybody got violated by the FAA? And that includes Air Force.
what the FAA wants.
Well, gee, that's not too, man, not much is going on, is it? Okay, well then let's find out about the next one. The next one is experiences. Has anybody got a harrowing experience to talk about? And that includes Air Force. I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of airplane you're flying in or what it is. Anybody got something to share?
Experiences?
Yes.
I do.
Good.
Did you already talk about me?
Not yet, but I do have your picture up there. Yeah.
Came in Thursday night. Normal takeoff from French Valley. Of course, normal. I mean, there was almost a head on at one point, but that's normal French Valley. Coming into March, everything normal approach, normal landing, and as I'm slowing down, you get that little bit of a vibration you get sometimes when the front wheel starts to wobble. Pull back on the yoke, and it got worse. So it's supposed to get better. So I slowed it down real quick, popped the right door open, saw this noodle wrapped around the right wheel. And tire went down, fortunately, after I landed. It wasn't down when I landed, so we all lived.
And that incident was turned into flight safety, I mean, to safety, wing safety, right after the incident.
Yay.
And I asked, do you have any other questions, like to the pilot or anything like that? And they says, nah, forget it. What was his name again? Benner. And they said, oh, forget it. You know.
We know that guy.
Yeah, okay, anybody else? George Watson isn't here tonight. He always has an incident he can talk about.
Thursday night, I had to go out and rescue some guy on the runway that had a flat tire.
Who's that?
Really? Well,
What a coincidence.
that is a coincidence, yeah. All you guys,
Thanks, Dave.
all you guys will see a picture of it. I do have a picture of the thing.
It's right side up.
Yes. Okay, no Aero Club manager tonight. Okay, tonight our guests will be talking about Los Angeles airspace when we get there. But first, Aero Club manager's on vacation, so I don't have a lot to say other than
In conclusion,
yeah. When you do the fuel log, just make sure that your numbers are correct. Most of you, 99% are. But there, every once in a while, I find somebody, if the ending number does not, that's on the register, isn't the same as the beginning number on the board, then something's wrong somewhere. Somebody did not log flight time, our fuel. So, you know, you might want to inquire before, if you do see that, skip a line, leave a space, because that meant somebody didn't log any fuel. I had to happen a couple of times this last time.
Is that slow hubs locked up again like me? Remember a few weeks ago? We couldn't find that 3 or 4 tenths was,
Oh,
that hasn't popped up anywhere else, has it?
no.
Just for me. I planned it, man.
Yes, you did. Yeah. No, not that I know of. I mean, it's, you know,
Okay.
yeah, I don't think so. And also, too, don't forget to put your names down on the far right-hand side, you know, and the date. Some of you guys aren't doing that. Please do that. It always helps in the record keeping. Nobody gets in trouble. Well, Bob might yell at you, but, you know. Okay. That was an incident.
There's no wheel on the close side.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you do when you see this? Well, you get it fixed before you fly. That's the incident that Ken was just talking about. Okay. Again, I'm just going to go over this real quick. I have discovered a lot of people haven't done their physicals since this change took place. You can no longer just go to your FAA doctor. You actually have to go on site with the FAA, and you got to actually do your that thing you used to fill out in the doctor's office. You now have to do it on the FAA site. So once you start that process, FAA knows that you're starting that process. But I've talked to a couple of people who have done it this way, and actually it's a lot easier. I mean, you get it done, and now, you know, they sign you a number, and then you go to any doctor that you choose, it's an FAA examiner, and go in and you show them that number, and they do the work as far as popping it up. But no longer just sitting in the, you know, I had a pediatrician. It was my FAA examiner, and there was all kinds of kids and throwing things. That was a lot of fun. Actually, it really was. But so you don't have to sit in there filling it in.
Roger's sitting there playing with the toys.
I was, actually, yes. I loved getting down on the floor with him. Yeah, it was really, it was. So that's the new procedure, is you got to do it through the FAA for all you old timers that hasn't done it yet. I actually ran into a guy the other day, had no clue. Yeah, he was starting to go call the doctor, and I says, well, you got to, you know, talk to the FAA, and he's going, what? You know, so. All right, know your SOPs. Yeah.
Just a note on that. Yeah, you have 30 days from the time that you fill that out in order to get the doctor.
Okay.
Otherwise it expires.
It expires. Okay, I didn't realize that. Yeah. Okay, that's good to know.
One other small point is that when you go in, like in the doctor's office, you don't have to go down the list of everything you've done before. You put down no change, no change, no change.
Oh,
Where there isn't a change.
well, yeah, right,
Whether
yeah.
or not, what do you mean?
Yeah, when you had that massive heart attack, you know, you might want to say there was a change, yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay, real quick, we go over a paragraph of our SOPs periodically. That way we can just make sure everybody has gone through it, at least if you show up to all the safety meetings. David's the only one I know that does that, but everybody else, you know, sometimes you'll miss it. What we're starting on now in Chapter 7 is basically the flight instructors of chapter, and really it's just covers, you know, pretty much this, you know, the flight instructors are supposed to know this, and you guys kind of have an idea of what it says, but it says that our Aero Club managers are high standard and professionalism here in the club. I do think that we do have excellent instructors, personally myself, and so, you know, I think that is in keeping with what it is. They're supposed to, of course, understand the SOPs. Technically, if you have any questions about the SOPs, you should be able to ask your instructor. Some guys, you know. And of course, they comply with all the TSA. Everybody here knows that Steven started doing any training. You have to, of course, show all of your passport or your birth certificate, and you gotta have your instructor has to look at that, and he knows what to do with that, and he has to actually sign for it. Let's see, and we followed the Jefferson Sanderson syllabus here for syllabus for the courseware. Some of the new guys have come in with books that they've bought other places, and I always say that if you do, always bring it in to your instructor the first time you meet with him so that he can go over it and then see how it compares to what we're doing.
Do we have to redo that TSA test at all, or is that a one-time thing?
Actually, no, you're supposed to do it. It's a yearly thing, and I forgot about that myself. Yeah, so there is a test that we as employees and instructors are supposed to take, and I found out it's every year.
And clearing officials have to do it too, correct?
Yes, clearing officials should do it too.
And AOPA is supposed to be a good site to go
Yeah,
to for that.
AOP is a very good site to do it at. They're probably the most friendliness. Any questions so far? Nope. Okay. All right. Eric Geyer. He's been a club member for a while, and oh wait, I did want to have. No, go ahead. You do it first.
Which one? Where's mine?
You do it first, because I do need to have Malcolm. You wanted to talk, and I want you to talk too. Do you need to do it right now, or? Yeah, see, that's what. Well, yeah, if you want to come up and talk now, then maybe we'll get, so you don't have to sit through the whole meeting. Well, you should. You're still a member of the club.
Yeah, but I'm not flying.
You're not flying.
Get
Yeah,
paid by the hour, Dave?
Yeah, I'm getting paid by the hour right now.
Yeah, Eric, let him talk for a minute.
I'm hard at work. Thanks, sir. Just a few quick notes about this month, the 23rd, 24th. There's going to be a TFR because the presidential aircraft are arriving. So use caution coming in and out of March. Don't want anybody being shot down out here. Starting the 26th to the 1st of August, the GCA is closing building 1210, and it's being relocated to the new operations building. After 1 August, starting 2 August, if any of the Aero Club members want to come in and visit the GCA and the tower simultaneously, feel free to do so. Stop in either at base ops, tell them you're here. They'll call us, we'll come out and get you out of the GCA and give you a quick tour if you're interested. 4 August is the proposed tearing down of the old tower. There's asbestos, so they quit working on it. So we'll see if 4 August works out and they pull it down. That's all I have for air traffic control, unless you guys have questions for air traffic control. Good. I'll see you next week.
Okay, thanks. Ward was supposed to be in here to talk about something, and he's not here, obviously. So, all right, Eric, you're up.
I'm doing this to make up all my tardies for Roger. So I'm mainly flying to Long Beach, so I do fly through the LA airspace a lot. Try to dodge through the Class B as much as possible. I know they've done classes before, but I kind of went through the different airspace out there and also the different routes to get through the Class B. And at the end of that, so a little thing I did on Catalina also. So as you can see, the airspace there kind of encompasses a lot of space for the Class B. With the new next gen coming online, it should shrink a little bit. But as you can see, it actually touches the Ontario airspace, actually overlaps actually, and comes to about 3.5 miles from what is it? Chino Airport. Sorry, overlaps Ontario's Class C, John Wayne's Class C, and also to the north Burbank's Class C. To the far left, you can see the magenta arrows. Those are actually the VFR transition routes. There's 2 that are high altitude and 3 low altitude I'll go over tonight. If you're leaving out of here and you want to cut through to go up north, you don't want to go over towards the mountains or something, best way from out here is leave out of here, get a flat top departure, pretty much along the 91. Try to stay about 4,500 feet to get everybody else's way. Along the 91, there's a lot of traffic for news helicopters and other aircraft coming through the area. So just kind of keep your wits, and I would always use flight following in that area. They've had a lot of semi-near misses in that area in the past couple of years. And then once you get towards LAX, Hawthorne area, they start making your whichever transition you're going to go through. So, any questions so far or anything? Okay. Okay. So pre-flight, know your route. Best way to do that is before you leave, study that map, mainly the TCA chart. Don't worry about the sectional, because all the stuff you're really going to need is on that TCA chart. And once you're within that 30-mile ring of LAX, they want you to really be on that chart instead of using a sectional. Watch your altitudes out there. There's a lot of crisscrossing altitudes where you'll have the Class B down to 5,000 feet, and the airport you're flying over, they might be up to, might be a Class C at 4,500 feet. Always use flight following. The airplane I fly out of Long Beach also has TCAS, so I have traffic and all that stuff on the airplane, but I still get flight following going out there. Even from Long Beach to the special flight rules area is about a 5-minute flight, but it just, you know, better be safe than sorry. Have more eyes on you. In the LA area now, there's 13 training areas. Like one we're familiar with is Lake Matthews, one over Long Beach Harbor, LA Harbor, El Toro, south of El Toro called Blockhouse. And that's, there you have aerobatics in there sometimes. It's mainly training. I was in the Long Beach one about 2 months ago now. I had 7 targets in front of me on my TCAS, all within 2 miles. So it's kind of like flying through a hornet's nest. You just kind of, you know, okay, I'm going to go higher, I'm going to go lower, I'm going to go out over the breakwater farther. So just kind of watch the airs when you're going through there. The big TFR out there is Disneyland. We've all seen it on the map before. It's everything below 3,000 feet and from 3 miles to the center of Disneyland itself. The only problem with that is when you're coming out of Fullerton's pretty much right on the edge of that. So when you're coming out of there, and if you're making a turn to the south, kind of watch where you're at. Either make a tight turn over the airport or a 270 and get out of there and try to climb above it. ATC sometimes will give you clearance below 3,000 to go through it, but rarely. If you're going to Los Alamitos for whatever reason, they'll give you a clearance, but normally it's stay above it and get out of there. If not, you see that. And you'll want to see that. So. Okay, transition routes. So you can see them on the magenta lines there. There's 5 of them we're going to talk about tonight. So it's going to take about an hour and a half or so. The high altitude ones are the Coliseum route and the Hollywood Park routes, which those are the 2 landmarks you're actually going to fly over. Low altitude, special flight rules area, which is the most common one everybody uses out there. The mini route, which is the new one, which is we'll talk about. It's kind of a tricky one, and it's actually fun. If you like talking on the radio a lot. And then the coastal route, which is kind of a unused one, but it's still there. Okay, the Coliseum route, anywhere from 8,500 feet to 9,500 feet. They can clear you up to 10,000, but it's rare. ATC clearance is required for that. Northbound, you're going to use the Victor 23 radio off of Seal Beach or Van Nuys, the 125, which is kind of weird. They got the 2 different headings, but that's what they had published. And you stay on those headings and on the Victor Airway until you're clear of the Class B. Southbound, same thing, Victor 23 on the same headings. going southbound. Checkpoints if you're coming from northbound to southbound will be Van Nuys Airport, LA Coliseum, of course, the Seal Beach VOR, which is over at the Los Alamitos Army Airfield, and then Miles Square Park to the south. And it's not used if LAX is in the east traffic when they're using runway 7 or runway 6. Mainly, you'll have that a lot during the Santa Ana conditions out here. Hollywood Park transition. Finally got a graphical for that one. So, same altitudes, 8,500 to 9,500. ATC clearance is required. The Van Nuys 140 radial. Checkpoints north to south is Van Nuys Airport, Hollywood Park, which is currently being torn down, so you might just see a big construction field. So just look for the Coliseum, and the Queen Mary when you come out to the south point. This one also isn't used a lot when they do the east traffic because you're a lot closer in on the map there to LAX. So if someone's coming up out of there or they have to do a go around, there might be conflicting traffic, so they shut it down if they're in east traffic conditions. Okay, now we're going to the low altitude stuff. The special flight rules area is the most common. This one's kind of nice because there's two different altitudes and you don't have to talk to ATC at all. You're just doing position reporting. Oh, kind of small, but sorry. Northwest bound, you're going to go at 4,500 feet. And you normally start that around the El Segundo refineries up over LAX and around. And you just give your position as you go along. The biggest thing with this is make sure you're exactly over the point you are, because that's another thing. You'll have 5 or 6 guys going through there at the same time. They're reporting over LAX where they're actually down south, and they can see LAX over their nose still. Southbound, 3,500 feet. Ken keeps everybody out of the way. On the Santa Monica 132 radial, transponder code is 1201. So it's just a quick transition over from the VFR squawk. They recommend use all aircraft lighting, taxi lights, landing lights, strobes, anything you got on there, flashlight, throw it out the window, whatever you got, even daytime. So I've been passed by some hot rods in there. I think is the next one. Oh yeah. Remain between the shoreline and the 405 freeway. It's kind of the little box right around LAX there on the map. If you are slower aircraft, stay to the right. Let the higher guys pass by it because the guys come whizzing by there. The speed limit in there is 140 knots, but I've seen guys blow by me at least 180, 200 knots, like they're, you know. So there's no one really controlling it, so they just kind of go through.
Like most of Southern California.
Yeah. Yeah. So no ATC clearance is required. The reporting on a 128.55. Reporting points, if you're going, I guess, maybe south to north, would be the El Segundo refineries, which you'll see the nice big white tanks all over the place and probably some smoke coming out of that place. Midfield over LAX. And the way it was explained to me is when you look down out of your window and you can look directly down and see this terminals at LAX, that's when you're midfield LAX, not when you can see it over the nose still. So, Bologna Creek, which is pretty much where you kind of see Marina Del Rey there, and that little creek going up there. And then your last reporting point going north is Santa Monica Airport, and vice versa. If you are doing flight following, ATC will give you the squawk probably 10 miles out before you even hit the area. If you're coming southbound, I've had as early as Point Doom over in Malibu. They had me squawk the altitude and or squawk 1201, and keep going on it. So let's see. This is over Bologna Creek, southeast bound, 3,500 feet. You can really see that or not, but probably not. So just ready to approach LAX. So kind of a better picture. So that big creek in the bottom there is Bologna Creek, and then Marina Del Rey right there at the very bottom. Kind of look up towards the center of the picture, and you see LAX there, the 2 runway complexes. And then also to the right of that, you can see the refinery there along the beach, just north of LA, or actually just south of LAX. Also in this picture, if you're doing some of the other transition routes, especially the mini route, Lyle Marymount pretty much runs right along Bologna Creek, which will be another checkpoint you talk to LA Tower on. Okay, the mini route. This is the funner one. Funner, sounds good. Because if you like to talk on the radio, this is great because you're going to talk to Santa Monica Tower, LAX Tower, and Hawthorne Tower within probably 30 seconds to a minute. It's best if you have 2 radios in your aircraft. What I normally do when I depart Long Beach is Long Beach Towers in COM 1, Spot 1. Standby is Hawthorne ATIS. COM 2 will be Hawthorne Tower, and then the standby for COM 2 is going to be LAX Tower. Because they're going to fire off at you real quick. You know, you're going to report your position at 405 at Hawthorne. You want to transition to mini route at 2,500 feet, and they're going to say, okay, squawk this, do this. You know, you have to repeat everything back to them, of course, because you're actually transitioning to Class B airspace. Then they'll say, talk to LA Tower. You'll talk to LA Tower between Imperial Highway and Manchester Boulevard only. And that's it, and they kick you off. And that might be a minute, 30 seconds at the most. So, you can't really see that either. That's all the notes for it. It's a great transition from Santa Monica to Hawthorne area, or if you're Torrance, Compton, Long Beach, John Wayne, anything like that. You want to transition over at LAX really low to go to Santa Monica. The main reason they put this route in process, or in act, I guess, is guys were coming from the south going north from like Long Beach or Torrance, something like that. They have to climb to 4,500 feet to go over LAX. They want to go to Santa Monica, then they're diving down to get to Santa Monica, which is right there. You got guys coming the other way at 3,500 feet. So they told you to dive off to the left and go down, and you know you're kind of pretty steep angle going down the way. So they said they put this mini route in 2005. It works out a lot, but it's pretty fun on the radio. So it's a good challenge. 2,500 feet, no matter which way you're going, northbound or southbound on this. ATC clearance is required, and like I said, you're going to talk to Santa Monica, LAX, and Hawthorne. And it's kind of like an IFR style read back to them. They want to hear everything that they said to you, repeat it back to them exactly. First time I flew through there, I did not know that. And I'm trying to scramble to find a pin and write stuff down. You know, this is going over with the special flight rules area, which is nice and slow and no one really to talk to. Checkpoints along the route. Going southbound, so Santa Monica Airport, Lyle Marymount University, midfield over LX. They want you to actually cross over the numbers of 2-4 left. Then on the south side, you'll get to the 405 at Hawthorne. That's kind of a tricky one. The best way to do it, because it's really hard to see when you're flying over that area, exactly where Hawthorne Boulevard is. You'll see the 405, it's kind of easy to follow. The way I try to trick people out do it is the the west end of Hawthorne's runway, that's your checkpoint. So when you're off the side of that, south of the airport, you see you're out to the west end of the runway, that's the 405 at Hawthorne. So if you're within a couple miles, we're not going to say much to you. Northbound, start off the 405 at Hawthorne, and make sure you're at your altitude, because if you're at 2,600, they're going to scream and squawk at you. You know, get down to your altitude quickly as possible. Midfield over LAX. Isle of Marymount on the way out. A lot of this will be done through the ATC. They'll tell you where you're going to, you know, when to contact the next controller. I've had it where I've contacted LAX before I hit Imperial Highway, and before I even hit midfield, he had to be transferred over to Santa Monica. So LAX must be in west traffic, or what they call over ocean configuration. What that is anywhere from local time midnight to 6:30 in the morning. LAX departs and arrives from the west. So they're coming over the ocean to land and then take off over the ocean to land. So if they're doing that, you're okay, because you're not going around you over you. They can still do go-rounds, but they'll tell you to get out of the area really quick if they have a go-round. Or they'll tell the guy going around stay below 2,000 feet. Yeah, LAX, Santa Monica, and Hawthorne, all three must be VFR at the same time. Coastal route, still there, hardly ever used though. Altitudes are 5,500 feet to 6,500 feet. Track the VOR, LAX VOR 323 radio on the north side of LAX. And on the south side, you're going to track the 123 radio away from the airport. So kind of a little heading change on the way in, so it's not really used that well or that much. checkpoints right now are the Vincent Thomas Bridge, which is pretty much Santa Monica, or not Santa Monica, San Pedro, or just the LA Harbor area, once you're over that. The LAX VOR, on the north side you got Santa Monica Pier, which is pretty visible off the ocean, and the Sepulveda Pass, which is where the 405 freeway goes through the hills up there, by kind of like the Getty Center Museum, if you guys are familiar with that. If you're departing Long Beach, Torrance, Hawthorne, or Santa Monica, you're supposed to contact SoCal TradeCom before you even depart. So before you're ready to call the tower, let them know. Call them first, let them know you're coming through. If you can make it from Long Beach to 4,500 or 5,500 feet to go through there, good luck. You better have a jet. So it's pretty quick, pretty close. Kind of run through it kind of quick. Any questions? Okay, good. Almost done. Okay, another one on Catalina Airport. Just like information stuff. I used to work over at a place called Catalina Flying Boats. We flew the DC-3s and back then the Beech 18s to and from the island all day delivering cargo. I got pretty used to that. And the first time I ever went over there sitting in the IP seat of a DC-3 with 7,000 pounds of cargo on, and the guy nailed it down like it was nothing, pulled off the runway. And I thought, if he can do that 5 or 6 times a day, I can do it in a 172 or anything else out there. So, first week I was working there, a guy came in a Falcon 50, landed it there like it was nothing, pulled off the runway, came off, and was, the whole place was amazed. Everybody's eyes were big as baseballs looking at the guy, and he was just like, "Hey, how's it going?" Like nothing big to him, So, called the airport in the sky for a reason. It's 1,602 feet above the ocean there. On the north end of the runway, there's a 1,500-foot cliff that goes straight down to the ocean. The south side, it kind of does a nice slow grade off into the water. So, and if you want to have some fun when you take off there, you take off, get your altitude up, get a little bit of a climb going, and just stay there. And all of a sudden, the ground just drops away. So all your passengers look straight down real quick. Runway, just cliff. And I don't have to clean them all up yet, but there are still some aircraft parts out there. I think there's a Citation wing, some other stuff out there to look at on your way off. So, basically about the airport, it's a 3,000-foot runway. Pretty much the same thing we have here. There's two different things I've heard of. This says 60 foot by the FAA. There's one of their diagrams that says it's 75 foot. I'll go with 60. As you can see, runway 22, it's a 1.7% upgrade on that runway. So it's a very weird picture when you're coming into the runway. You're used to your nice flat runways coming in. This runway, you always come in, people will come in high all the time because they're not used to the sight picture of this. So that kind of throws them off a little bit. It's 1,602 feet. Runway. Pattern's 26 for the pattern. It's right traffic for runway 22. And then left traffic for runway 4, which is pretty much just keeps you west of the airport. Unicom is 122.7, which is also used by, I believe, French Valley and some other airports around here. So you hear, okay, so I hear guys all the time from different airports. You're like, where's this guy at? So when you go in there, please say I'm at Avalon, Catalina, something like that, because you get guys reporting, I'm on short final. Which airport you at, bud? So. Airport ops. It's a beautiful airplane I used to fly, they just got rid of. So, hours of operations, they have two different sets of hours. It's 08 until 1900, from April 16th to October 15th. And then it's October 16th to April 15th, 8 to 5. Because they have pretty much no runway lighting. They have emergency lighting, but if it's after those hours, guys, come turn them on. So, landing fee, beautiful, $25 every time you land there. When I was working for Catalina Flying Boats, every time the DC-3 landed, $25. If you're staying overnight, pay $15. No touch and goes are allowed at the airport. No intersection takeoffs because of the slope of the airport, and you'll be able to see the guy at the other end. If you're at the end of runway 22, you're not going to see a guy at the end of runway 4 because of the pitch and the slope of the airport. No fuel or maintenance on the run at the airport also. So if you have a flat or something like that, you're kind of stuck there until someone flies the parts over to you. So. Runway 22 there. If you look, well, I can't really see the picture real close, but there's a lot of potholes, a lot of uneven pavement. The kind of best thing to do is treat it like a soft field landing when you go in there. guy was telling me yesterday that they're planning on repaving the runway again, but they say that every year. So I've had guys come in there and I've seen I was coming in on base to final. Guy was landing on 182 in front of me, hit a pothole, took the nose wheel off and the prop and everything else. So he was out there for an hour, so we just flew back to Long Beach and parked it. To the right of the picture there, you see the dirt runway. That's what the DC-3 uses because they beat up the runway too much. So they cleared them a little space, and DC-3s normally land in the dirt now. And there's a mini taxiway they gave for them also. They still call it runway 22, not 22 right. So you hear 22 because the wing will actually stick over runway 22 when they're taking off. So bad thing about Catalina Flying Boat guys, they only do straight ins. They don't fly the pattern, even though it's an uncontrolled airport. They leave Long Beach and then straight in. There's 13 minutes from the time they depart 3-0 at Long Beach, the time they land on 2-2. They got it down to a science. The caravan guys are probably the same. You'll see cargo caravans in there for Catalina Flying Boats, and then you'll see some new charter lines going in there a lot with the passenger caravans. Strong downdrafts from runway 22, short final. And it's kind of like a mountain wave effect that comes off the runway there. And it's pretty much short final. When you're coming in and you're about 1,700 feet, you'll start to feel it. The trick to this airport, which I found out over the years, is you aim for the numbers. Even though you think, oh man, I'm hitting the cliff, you aim for the numbers and you start your flare and you go right over that thing. Too many people land too far out and then end up off the end or having to do a go around or something like that, so around the runway. There is a sign now posted halfway down the runway that says halfway, so people don't freak out, because people come and hit that thing and they start slamming their brakes on, and they're smoking their brakes all the way, and they're like, oh, there's the terminal. Well, I got another 1,500 feet to go, but nice short field landing. Pilots can't see aircraft on the other end of the runway due to the slope. First 2,000 feet is sloped 1.7 degrees. Runway 4, 2.2 downgrade on that one. Recommended to only use for landing in strong headwinds. If you land on that thing, you're going to roll for a while. So, that's a picture there. Came out pretty good, but it's pretty much base, almost the final there for runway 22. Your office phone, AWOS there at the airport's pretty accurate. It actually gives you density altitude also when you call. The airport's 1,600 feet. When I called a couple days ago, it was reporting 2,200 feet because of the heat and the humidity, stuff like that going on. And it could be VFR here, and you can get over there and it'll be socked in. We can't even see the island anymore. There are some IFR approaches and departures. Good luck. The departures are climb straight to 2,300 feet, then turn on course. I wanted me to tell you about the air show they're having October 4th. The fly-ins are welcome. Let's go to catairshow.com. What they do is they actually have all the statics at the airport, then 45 minutes down the hill in the cattle car. You can go to Avalon and actually do the air show in Avalon Bay. This will be the third year I believe they've done it. But mostly little aerobatic aircraft, some T6s flying by. Normally have an albatross come in, land in the water, do some flyby, stuff like that. But they're want people to show up if they can with their statics. They do have an Aero Club over there, which you don't have to live on the island or be a part of the island. But if you do fly over there more than 6 times a year, it's worth it. It's $150 a year, and it's unlimited landings. You can land there as much as you want. So. And you're allowed to do underwing camping if you choose, which if you just fly in irregularly, you have to camp off-site. So. Really see that picture that well? Yeah. Don't land long, go around. This is a series a couple months ago. Actually, no, a couple years ago now. And just kept rolling, and he landed long and came, I got plenty of room. Oops, see ya. Went off the edge, so his buddy flying by and saying thanks. So thanks for clearing the runway. So this is actually on the south side of the island, looking west. The weather moves really fast where, like I said, anything else around will be VFR, but as you look towards the island, or the island will be socked in, and once you get out of that soup, it's fine, but just know that it'll creep in sometimes on the low part of the south side of the island and creep over runway 4 and then down the runway. So you can look up and see blue skies, but you look at the runway, it's just a fog bank coming in. So 2 to 4 o'clock is kind of when that normally rolls in. Better picture of the little slope of the runway you can kind of see. That actual picture there is you're a little bit high at that point. So, because you're going to land pretty much between the numbers and the first taxiway down there. So, any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Very good. Very, very good. Has Ward showed up? I guess not. Okay, Malcolm, you got something to say, don't you? Yeah, I know. You're the next speaker. Yeah, speak up.
What you guys have to know is what I have to say is not super pleasant, but I'm a Campbell, and my heritage in Scotland goes back to the 1200s. And our family motto was, clan motto was nail with the scars. Basically, in modern terms, I mean, don't screw with me, because I won't forget. So I'm gonna say this one time. George, it's a good thing George isn't here, because he's really up on this. T-34 drivers, I don't need to know who you are, but I started flying with Fred Zolz in 1999. George was there before that. Tyler started shortly after that. And two things we were, one, don't break them. But number two is when you land them, these old engines leak a lot of oil. And especially that nose gear well underneath the aircraft is a mess if you don't get it every time and all the way back to the tail. My 5.3 that I was flying, it was terrible. About 1 out of 3 times we go out there, somebody before us either A, hasn't cleaned it or has done a crappy job. And what happens is that coating of oil gets on there, dust and dirt and crap, and then the next guy that flies it, when it wasn't clean, you can clean it off, and you can go, I've actually gotten sick to my stomach under there with a cleaning fluid trying to get under there, and I have to go through 2 or 3 layers of oil to get it off. And about 3 weeks ago, I had to get out from under there. I couldn't stand it anymore. If you don't clean the damn things, don't fly them. If you don't want to clean them, you're going to start getting fined for not cleaning them. And I'm getting to the point, in fact, all of us are, all 3 of us are, Tyler, myself, and George are the ones that have been doing this for the longest here, Ward Massey also. But we're going to check the airplanes before we fly them. If I have to start taking damn photographs, I will. But this is the war, and some of the guys, a couple of guys that really wanted to hear this aren't here, but they'll see it on the film. But we're going to start making phone calls and calling names. This is really serious stuff because there's a lot of little goodies up in that nose gear well that the mechanics have to get at. And we don't need them all coated with oil and crap. And it's and the bottom of the plane, if you don't clean it off, that oil will eat the paint. So I just ask for your help, your cooperation, and we can all have a good time with them and enjoy the I take a little pride in it. And I'm delighted to see a lot of guys out there cleaning the 172s. For go back out there and actually clean the damn things, which I think is great. Because when you're renting airplanes, or if you're in the Navy, pilots never touch anything. They just get in and fly it. I guess Air Force sometimes too. In our helicopters in the Army, they had that crappy radar absorbing paint, so we couldn't do anything if we wanted to. But these things, the nose gear well, especially in the belly on the T-34s, don't have to go on clean out on the wings, just get them out. Thank you, and thank you.
Can I jump on the tail of that? The high wing guys, get the bugs off those planes too, please. They're really, really tough to get off after, after they're all baked on.
Yeah.
We don't have the same oil problem, but still the bugs are just ridiculous to try and scrub off. We could do it in 5 or 10 minutes. If you don't, the next guy's doing it, it takes you 20, 30 minutes to get it clean.
Well, the thing on the bugs in the summer is they literally will melt into the paint.
Yeah.
And they become part of the paint. You absolutely can. We flew once in formation up in Madeira, and we came out after this short flight. It was all low level, and the crops all around the farms. You couldn't see the wing. It was black with bugs from tip to tip. And it took us a while to do that. If we wouldn't have cleaned them off, I mean, they never would have come off. So be aware of that on both the sets of airplanes, is the leading edge of the wings. And on the 172 is the tail too, it's not a bad idea. That's just a real quick little slide. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Malcolm. It's not that hard really on the 172s especially to get those bugs off right after you've flown. But it's a bear if you leave it to the next guy. It's kind of unfair. Okay, real quick, I have just a couple reminders. It's summer, in case you didn't know that. And it is hot. And there's just some real quick things you need to remember. Heat exhaustion, drink lots of water. You have the greenhouse effect in the cockpit. Don't let Jerry try to tell you, Jerry always wants to fly in hot weather. Well, not really, but but like today, Jerry chose not to fly with a student, and the guy that came in after him that was going to fly one of the T-34s, they all of them just decided not to fly today because of not just the winds, but because of the heat. It just we're supposed to be doing this for fun, and it's not a lot of fun if you have to sit there and do like we used to do in the Air Force when we had to fly. And but if you do fly in hot weather, remember to drink lots of water, not coffee, water. Keep yourself hydrated.
Climb out at a faster speed.
What? Oh,
Climb out should be faster. Don't try to hang them up there and keep the engines up.
yes. Well, that was our next thing. That's what I talk about here. Pre-flight, watch it. When you're doing the pre-flight and you're touching things, you can burn yourself. You can actually burn your fingers. Watch yourself on that. Observe the flight manual on tire inflation. Be careful when checking the fuel cap. It can, actually I've seen it overflow and it'll come out through the overflow on the fuel if it gets hot enough. Performance, density, altitude. I know we've talked about that many times. The airplane thinks it's flying higher than what you are at your altitude. Malcolm.
One more little thing on specificity on that climbing out. On the T-34s, climb out at 100 or more. And it's interesting, you'll get down almost the same rate of climb as you get at 90. But the engines don't heat up, the oil doesn't heat up nearly as fast. And we've watched that over the years. And if any of you guys are flying them, 100 is the minimum you should be climbing out at. And the 172s, use your judgment, but more than a normal climb on it, faster.
Yeah.
An oil cooler.
Yeah, David. Yeah, well, bring up. You can overheat the engines on the 172s. I know that.
But you overheat the oil, not the engines. And the
Well,
oil lets
well,
the
yeah.
fire go
Well,
on the 34s.
Yeah, yeah,
34s, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Definitely the T-34s. Yeah,
The 182 still heats up quite a bit too. It's a new engine, it's not that old. There's a lot of friction in there. You climb out too slow at airspeed, and you don't have the airflow, it's gonna heat up on you.
What you recommend to climb out for
I think so.
John, what is the recommended for the 182?
Whatever's comfortable, you can climb out at.
It's 80, I think, but,
I'm thinking 80 is what it was,
that's not.
but it's not. Jerry, you know a lot about the 182 because you're flying with CAP too.
Well, my recommendation is on a normal day,
Yeah,
is to get to 1,000 feet,
85.
yeah,
and that's 80 miles an hour. Once
yeah,
you get there, then push the nose over 90, 95,
yeah.
whatever. But as I say, my recommendation, you ought to be at 1,000 feet, so at least you got some options.
Yeah,
Rather than 100 mile an hour, which takes you forever to get to 1,000 feet.
uh,
And you won't overheat anything in the first 1,000 feet.
yeah.
And once the oil gets hot, it takes a long time to cool it down.
Anybody else have anything to add or subtract? Okay, and of course, watch out for the smog. We are getting it, although we've been getting a lot of winds too. But just be careful when you like the time when I came back from Palm Springs one time, and boy, there was smog, and I hit that smog bank, and I could not see anything. I might as well have been flying IFR. You can look straight down and see the freeway or follow it, but then of course you're risking running into somebody else. So when you're flying westbound in the late afternoon and a smoggy day, beware. Be very aware of that. And of course, thunderstorms. They're saying that we're going to have a lot of them this year. Kevin, who's our weather guy, I guess there's a lot of talk about being some pretty good sized stuff coming this summer because of the heat that we've got this year. And we've already gotten quite a bit. It just hasn't gotten down here yet, but how many got sprinkled on the other day? Yeah. So, beware of that. When you go up and fly, that was one of the other reasons why a lot of guys didn't want to go today, is because we just didn't know just how it was going to, things can go from bad to worse real quick here. Winds, Santa Ana winds, of course, that's in the fall more than it is now. But just beware of it. Coastal fog, we've been getting a lot of that now too because of the heat here and the coolness of the ocean out there. So just like what we talked about Catalina Island, be careful out there too. Really careful. Things can really change a lot in the summertime here. Okay, any questions? I think that's all we got. I'm not missing anybody that wanted to talk, I don't think. You guys don't have anything to say? Ops officer, chief pilot.
Over here, Raj.
Oh, Jim.
Just a freeway note to folks, the 215 is going to be shut down near 74 and starting at 8 o'clock tonight.
Okay.
So if you're heading south.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, matter of fact, the base sent an email out to everybody on the base on that. So, okay, I think that's it. Well, I still got 5 minutes yet. Gee whiz.